The top business stories, live from the Sky Newsroom. The head of DP World tells Sky News why he went through with a major UK investment despite feeling discredited by criticism from a former cabinet minister. WHSmith to disappear from the High Street, rebranded as TG Jones in a £76 million sale. Plus the British company that's won a competition to produce drinking water on the moon. Very good morning on this Friday, Business Live with me, Darren McCaffrey. The chairman of P&O Ferries parent company, DP World, has told Sky News he went ahead with a multi-billion-pound investment in the UK despite feeling discredited by criticism from a former cabinet minister. P&O was widely criticised 3 years ago when more than 700 seafarers were fired without consultation. This new investment will see London Gateway on the north bank of the Thames become the UK's largest port. Here's our business and economics correspondent, Paul Calso.
London Gateway, the deep water port on the Thames estuary, is on course to become the biggest in Britain after a £1 billion investment by owners DP World that nearly didn't happen.
There appeared to be some dispute with the government. Can you explain to us what happened?
It was just a misunderstanding. Somebody, unfortunately, said something that is not what we expected. That we're going to invest in infrastructure, a huge investment. And then we get the person who's in charge of that to basically discredit us.
That person was Louise Haigh, then Transport Secretary, who criticised DP World for its management of P&O Ferries, calling them a rogue operator for the summary dismissal of more than 700 seafarers, just as the Prime Minister was trying to close a deal. The chairman, battling a failing voice, defended their conduct.
We had a choice. Either close down the company and 3,000 people or more will lose their jobs, or try to survive by letting go 800 or 700 something. We believe in the UK economy, the strength. We believe the economic fundamentals are strong.
With operations in more than 70 countries, DP World handles 10% of global trade and is planning for disruption from Donald Trump's tariffs.
How do you expect this trade war to impact trade?
Psychologically, it will. In reality, it will not, because trade is resilient. You know, I look at trade as like water coming from the mountain and the rain. Nobody can stop it.
When you are trying to plan your business with all these threats, do you then look at what Donald Trump does,
Absolutely,
as opposed to what he says?
Absolutely, but he's serious. What he threats, he will do if nobody comes in the deal.
With Trump's tariffs set to bite next week, the government is once more scrambling to secure a deal to keep trade moving. If they do, DP World will benefit.
Well, Paul is with me here in the studio. Paul, let's first of all actually talk about that investment, a sign that big companies are willing to invest in the UK.
Yes, and DP World, we saw there the chairman, they were keen to make this announcement with a big fanfare back in October. You might recall the government had its investment summit, the new government saying Britain was there on the world stage to invest in, and it got derailed by this row over P&O, and they were clearly offended, frankly, DP World, by having this company being talked down just as they were about to sign a cheque. But he was, we didn't hear everything he said there. He was very complimentary about the UK. He talked about it having the best stock market in the world, which might be news to some, the best legal system, the best universities, and being well placed for what he called the economy of the mind that's going to replace the economy of the hands, was his phrase. There was a rapprochement last week. He met Poppy Gustafsson, who's the investment minister, on his flying trip when we got a chance to talk to him. And they've invested in this port, which is now a big logistics park as well, in part because they believe the UK has got an opportunity outside the EU. And rather than taking stuff straight to the Netherlands and bringing it here, opportunities for trade to get here first is an opportunity they want to exploit.
Well, talking about trade, and you touched upon it in that interview there, tariffs, we cannot get away from it. He's saying that actually trade is pretty resilient, but deal with 10%, isn't it, I think, of the world's global trade. So a hint of optimism in a time of uncertainty.
Yeah, I mean, DP World, they do handle 10% of the world trade. They've got ports and operations in more than 70 countries. They're very exposed to fluctuations and interruptions. And he's not going to say anything to offend any potential clients, but he absolutely believes, as he said at one point, where there are problems, there are opportunities. Goods will still flow. I think he thinks that Donald Trump still, perhaps, there is more bluster than reality, but he said it there, Donald Trump is serious. Unless people come to the table and there is negotiation, there will be tariffs. Trade will still move. DP World will still move it. It's just going to cost the people on the receiving end more money.
OK, Paul, great stuff. As always, Paul Calso, thank you very much. Now, one of the most recognisable brands on the high street is to disappear. More on that on a second. But first, let's get you some breaking news regards the future of the Telegraph. Mark Kleiman's got both stories for us. Mark, let's start with the Telegraph. What's happening?
Yeah, after nearly 2 years of uncertainty, Darren, there may finally be some light at the end of the tunnel for Telegraph newspaper journalists. What I've reported this morning is that Todd Boehly, the joint owner of Chelsea Football Club, is considering making an offer for the Daily Telegraph and its Sunday sister title in conjunction with David Montgomery, the media tycoon who used to run the Mirror newspaper group. Now, in a stock exchange announcement in the last hour or so, confirming our reporting, Todd Boehly's company, Eldridge Media Holdings, has confirmed that he is looking to make an offer for a company called National World, which is the publisher of The Scotsman and the Yorkshire Post. That company was founded by Mr. Montgomery, and my understanding is that the two of them would then seek to combine National World with the Telegraph in order to extract the cost savings that would arise from consolidating the two businesses. Now, there's no certainty that this deal will happen. Remember that there's been an incredibly convoluted recent history of the Telegraph's ownership, resulting in an Abu Dhabi-backed company called Redbird IMI basically acquiring the option to convert its debts into ownership of the Telegraph. That was blocked by angry parliamentarians, resulting in a change of media ownership laws in the UK. And so basically the Telegraph has existed in a state of limbo for the last 2 years or so. And this may now be the most credible answer to unlocking that impasse. But still, no certainty that this will result in a deal, but some credible names at last being attached to a potential offer for the Telegraph newspapers.
Yeah, two big household names there, the Telegraph and Chelsea. Another big household name, of course, is WHSmith, and they're going to disappear, not the brand entirely, but effectively from the high street. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. After more than 2 centuries on the high street, WHSmith's name will effectively disappear. The company that owns WHSmith's High Street business, WHSmith PLC, also owns a large travel retail business, which is more profitable and lucrative. It's going to focus on that. So it's sold the High Street business in a deal that we first reported on in January, and it's selling that business to a company called Medela Capital, which won't be familiar to many of our viewers, but Medela has quietly become one of the most acquisitive investors in the British retail sector. In recent months, it's acquired Hobbycraft, and it recently bought the Original Factory Shop, a chain of discount stores. It's also bidding for Lakeland, the family-owned retailer. But what's interesting, Darren, very quickly, is that Medela has got a track record of very quickly embarking on pretty savage restructurings of the companies it buys. So it's done that at Hobbycraft, it's doing that at the Original Factory Shop. And so the question in the minds of the 5,000 people or so who work for WHSmith's High Street business is whether it's going to take a similar approach to the WHSmith High Street arm as it's taken to its other retail investments.
OK, Mark, great stuff as always. Thank you very much indeed. Mark Kleiman there live for us this morning. Now, talking about retail, there's been a surprise jump in retail sales in February, helped by an increase in demand at hardware stores. Figures from the Office for National Statistics showed a rise of 1% month on month. Now, that's down from the 1.4% we saw in January, but it is higher than many analysts had predicted. Let's speak to Jackie Baker, head of retail at the accounting firm RSM. Very good morning to you, Jackie. This is good news, and it's good news because all categories are seeing an increase.
Yeah, good morning, Darren. Thank you. Yeah, many retailers have got a spring in their step this morning, that's for sure. There's finally some green shoots, as you mentioned, signs of consumer spending coming back to life finally. As you mentioned, the latest data this morning did show an increase of 1% in retail sales overall, and that comes off the back of a jump in January of 1.6. So certainly started the year in a positive way. Comes off the back of a challenging December and Christmas period. So steady growth at the start of the year, like I said, will put a spring in the step of many retailers.
And in part, this is helped by the fact that actually for a while now, wages have been increasing higher than inflation, and people have got a bit more money in their pocket, haven't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, what's driving these sales, and as you mentioned earlier, it's across all categories of retail. Real wages are ticking up, so consumers are starting to feel like they've got a bit more money in their pocket. But last year, most consumers were saving as opposed to spending, so that uptick in sales could be the start of consumers feeling more confident to get out there and spend. The upward trend in sales couldn't come at a better time. As we all know, it could help mitigate some of those imminent post-budget headwinds that are due to hit next week and those significant increases in labour costs.
And Jackie, just talk to us about WHSmith. You know, it is a brand that's been around for a long time. It's not going away entirely, being replaced by TG Jones, which is quite interesting, obviously quite similar in some ways. I believe he actually is a former Welsh football player from many years ago who happened to open a newsagent. What do you think they'll be trying to do with those stores on the high street that, you know, have looked a little tired, it must be said, in recent years?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing for me is that it's a household name leaving the high street, which is always sad to see. But it looks like the deal, from what I've seen, saves jobs and stores across the country. We're yet to see what they'll do with them. What will be interesting is to see how that they innovate that brand and establish that TG Jones name on the high street, as you say. But it does present a good opportunity to update the current format and cater to today's consumer.
And just very finally, Jackie, there's been a lot of pressure on stores recently on the high street. You know, sales weren't great over the Christmas period at all. But it does feel that there is a bit of optimism around at the moment, even with those pressures, as you've touched upon, about the increase in tax and national insurance and, of course, the minimum wage next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, the spring statement earlier this week didn't fundamentally change anything for retailers, but it did confirm that disposable incomes look set to continue to increase. And if this feeds through into consumer spending, then that upward trend in sales could help mitigate some of those budget headwinds that are due to hit next week.
OK, Jackie, really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you very much indeed, Jackie.
Thank you.
There. OK, well, we had some good news there for retailers, didn't we? And it's what's been a pretty gloomy picture of late. And there is some more positive news this morning with a significant investment in the high street. It is a Danish homeware firm called Sstrene Grene that is opening a new flagship store in central London and is planning to open 100 new stores within the next 3 to 4 years. Let's speak to Mikkel Grene, who is the chief executive of the company. Very good morning to you, Mikkel. It's not often we have a company on opening not just one, but plans to open dozens of stores. Just first of all, talk us through what you guys do, maybe unfairly being compared to IKEA in the past. You're keen to suggest that you're Danish, not Swedish, and you do things differently.
That's true. Well, what we do try to create here is quite a unique shopping experience. So it's all about touching the senses of the customer. So we try to give them something quite unique with the classical music playing, with the products that you know without the packaging, so you can touch them. You can have small taste samples. You can smell the tea and the candles and so on. So I think in retail today, you have to offer something really different and quite unique to get people in the high streets.
And what is it about the UK? You've been here for a while, I think since 2016. Lots of high street stores are closing. You're expanding. What is it that is working for you in Britain?
Well, first of all, of course, it has been really uncertain times with all the different crises that we've had. So we're quite happy to be in a lower end price-wise, I think. So the customers are really looking for good value these days. So that's something that you need to make sure. But apart from that, it's also that in uncertain times, I think customers are looking for these kind of brands that give you a small break from the hectic everyday life that people have. So you can enter the Sstrene Grene store and really forget about all your troubles and just spend some time with us. There's a kind of maze-like design of the stores where we block out the artificial light and all the light coming from the outside in the mall or in the high street. And then we try to create this experience where you can just indulge in the universe for a while. And that seems to be working quite well these days. And we're really, really happy with the positive way that we've been received here in the UK. Every time we open a new store, there's a queue outside. And also here today in Argyle Street, there's been a lot of customer showing up this morning. So we're really pleased with that.
And just finally, Mikkel, the stores are clearly very nice, but the cost of employing people is going to increase quite a lot, isn't it, next week? Are you concerned about that? Not just the increased costs, but also what it means for your expansion plans?
Yeah, obviously, it is a concern that the costs are going up, and we do see it on quite a few different areas these days. Also, the cost of furniture and so on going up. So that's definitely a concern. So we've tried to find ways to cut costs on building the store and so on. But with the way we've been received over here, we feel pretty confident that we can keep on growing the business and hopefully we can reach the 100 stores not by 2030, but maybe already in 2027. So that's definitely our goal, and we're pretty confident that we can do it. Although we do see some rising costs these days.
And just very finally, I was a little bit cheeky at the start, Mikkel, when I talked about the comparison that's been made with IKEA, but it has been made, and IKEA are also opening a store, aren't they, of course, on Oxford Street. How do you feel about that comparison? Maybe from a slight point of ignorance here in the UK, that we kind of look at Scandinavia as all one.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, IKEA is definitely something different, but we're pretty proud to be compared with them. They're obviously doing a really, really good job, and they're much, much bigger than us. So we don't think that we really compare in that sense, but what we're trying to do is a bit different. So it's more like a small, cozy store where you can get, a quite different experience. So we think we are offering something else than they are, but obviously they're also doing a great job, and the fact that they're opening up just at the end of Argyle Street, I think a few weeks from now, it's obvious something that the press will look at, and then you will have the comparison.
OK, Mikkel, really appreciate your time this morning. He is the Chief Executive of Sstrene Grene, who have just opened a new store in central London. Thank you. OK, we're just going to bring you up to date with some breaking news, and that is that Marcin Majerkovic has been jailed at Manchester Crown Court for life with a minimum term of 34 years. This is for the murder of Stuart Everett, who was aged 68, who was dismembered into some 27 pieces, an horrific murder, but will serve that minimum jail term of 34 years for the murder of Stuart Everett. That's happened at Manchester Crown Court today. OK, you're watching Business Live here on Sky News. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, we're going to talk to the British company that's won a competition to produce drinking water on the moon. Explaining all after the break.
Weeknights on Sky News.
This is your chance. Tell people. Welcome to the Politics Hub.
Our police force has apologised. If you want to find out about Grimsby, you come to the docks.
I'm live in Jerusalem.
Are you not concerned that that could lead to all-out war?
Hello there, good evening. There are fears of an upsurge in violence. What's at stake here?
You are watching the press preview, a first look at the front pages as they arrive.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people, at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. Alex Crawford joining us now from Ukraine.
Their personal possessions are all scattered around the place.
Our economics and data editor, Ed Conway, try and make sense of the big numbers for us.
Things can change incredibly quickly, and that's what they have done.
So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
We're trying to see as much as we can.
We start with breaking news.
Historic day here today.
The golden age of America begins right now.
A long-awaited ceasefire is now underway.
First question, Sky News.
This is a huge moment.
It's incredible.
Now to California.
Do you owe citizens an apology? Have you nothing to say?
Jane Secker, Sky News. Would you like to respond to us now?
Beth Rigby, Sky News.
In principle, would you agree to do that?
Criticism of you is banned. How is this a fair election?
The cameras are poised, waiting to see what the president might do next.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Sky News get the full story first.
Is this now all your territory?
Yeah. The battlefield is outside the barricades. We are in the middle of a forest, in a jungle really, and they're attempting to keep these men alive. I'm Stuart Ramsey, and I'm Sky's chief correspondent. It's really dangerous. Many people have died riding it.
1,500 movies? I don't want this flight to end. Fly Emirates, fly better.
Very welcome back to Sky News. Just going to bring you some lines emerging from the Kremlin in the last couple of minutes. That is that they are saying that Vladimir Putin did not raise the idea of Ukraine being put under temporary administration with President Trump. Suggestions that Vladimir Putin had brought up that idea yesterday. And also the Kremlin saying that Russia reserves the right to pull out of that moratorium on energy strikes if Kyiv violates the accord. And also the Kremlin saying the Ukrainian army is out of control and not heeding orders from Ukraine's leadership. So details emerging there from a Kremlin briefing, and we'll have more on that at midday. Now, a device that can produce clean water from icy soil has won the UK Space Agency's Lunar challenge. The competition was set up to find solutions to the problems of producing drinking water for astronauts on the moon. Well, delighted to say in the studio with the invention is Lowland Nakia. He is from the Gloucestershire-based Nakia Scientific. Very, very good morning to you. Congratulations on this award. You must have been delighted to have won.
Yes, thank you. It's a big deal for a small company, and as you know, it's really difficult to set up and run a small company in these economic times. So to play a finite game like this and come out as an outright winner has been excellent.
Well, I said there is the trophy. Just talk us about what you've done. Water on the moon.
So we have come up with an innovation to purify water that exists as icy material in the lunar regolith or soil. And we use a combination of microwaves to warm up that material and ultrasound, acoustic power, to break down contamination in that water.
And there you are, you're doing it. I mean, it's not a conventional microwave, I have to say. It's not something you'd heat your baked beans up in, no doubt about that. But this is innovative stuff, and it's quite important if we are genuinely to have people on the moon, for example, or if we want to explore Mars, that we can access the water that's on the lunar surface.
Yes, so I've taken inspiration from everyday items. We were operating with a very constrained budget in this finalist challenge, and taking inspiration from items like microwaves or augers, which feed wood chip pellets into barbecues. I used whatever I could find around me to try to innovate and find a creative solution to solve the problem that we were given.
And as I say, that problem's quite important. I mean, you know, Elon Musk wants to send men to Mars, doesn't he? But, you know, you're going to have to go via the moon for that. What inspired you then to get involved in this, or was it kind of foisted upon you?
No, so I've been looking at these challenge prizes that have been taking place abroad. So for entities like NASA have been running them. And this was the first challenge that was open to anyone in the UK. And when I saw it, I thought that this would be a great opportunity to solve problems that would allow space technology to be deployed in the terrestrial environment and solve problems for everyday people here, but also a way to grow the business.
And just very finally, what about science in the UK? Are you kind of quite pleased with the environment that, you know, there is innovation in this country? Because, you know, a lot of people are and have been concerned about the lack of funding in recent years.
It has been a challenge for small companies like us to access grant funding to do very high-risk, early-stage technology development. But I think the environment is improving, and certainly what we've seen from the space agency side, creative ways to allocate grant funding like this challenge will really drive science and technology innovation in the future.
Really fascinating stuff, Lolan, and congratulations on that amazing award. Thank you very much, and you never know, it could be, people could be drinking that water in years to come. Thank you. OK, that is it for me on Business Life for this morning. We're back, of course, at 4:30 this afternoon. Do join me then if you can. Up next, though, we will have continuing coverage with Samantha Washington of the earthquake that has hit Myanmar and Thailand this morning. Those are pictures of the Prime Minister visiting that collapsed building where dozens of people are still feared trapped in Bangkok. These are the latest pictures we're getting in. As I say, there will be continuing coverage. We've heard that there are fears thousands could have died in Myanmar. So do stay tuned for that. Sam Washington up next here on Sky News at midday. And I will see you later at 4:30.